for some odd reason, we were doing a demographic analysis for a couple of the largest automobile manufacturers in the world, Honda and Toyota, and they wanted to have not just age cohorts, but they wanted the generation. They're really stuck on understanding the generation of their buyers. And of course, as maybe pure analysts are like, who cares about the generation? All you care about is the age and the demographics and the income. You know, the generation is just a name, but they really, really wanted to see it in a new way. And I have to tell you that this wasn't like something that I came up with through some scientific process. I literally was Monet throwing paint at a wall, and I literally just threw some stuff up on literally the row, column, shelf, and some other things, and came up with this dashboard, and I showed it to several executives, and they just went bonkers over it. They loved it. So let me show you how this works, actually. I'll play it, and then I'll build it for you, okay? So here you can see on the x-axis, you've got your age cohorts. They're your typical age cohorts that you'll find in any census or any demographic report, typically. And the color, the stacked color bar, represents the generation. So here in orange, in 1980, this represents Gen Y, which I believe probably most of you are here. And it shows you that the population in 1980 of Gen Ys was 6.8 million people. But what's really neat is to see the evolution of the generations by age cohort. You flip that switch right there in Tableau, and you get to see how a generation through the age cohorts evolves, okay? And again, I'll play that for you again and maybe isolate, just for kicks, Gen Y. Maybe I'll play it a little slower. That's a little bit too slow. But there, you can see in orange how the Gen Ys are growing. And if you really stop it and kind of figure out when the Gen Ys are really going to be in the meat of the distribution curve, you know, somewhere probably around 2020, early 2020s, this is a meaningful talking point for the C-suite. Again, you know, it's not something that you're going to use in forecast and predictive analytics, although you can, and we did actually. But again, it's blending two different dimensions here, the generation and the age group. So I'll just show you how I built this. Okay? So, just a blank canvas generally. And what we did here, what I did was place the cohort on the column shelf, so you get your nice x-axis. Does everybody see that? And then we took population and stuck it on the row shelf. And so now, in essence, we have a very simple distribution. So if I highlight the 25 to 34-year-olds, we know that there were 3.1 billion people, but again, there's no year dimension on here. That's just throughout the entire database. It doesn't mean anything as of yet. Then we'll take a generational field and put that on the color shelf. See, so we only did three things. 3 actions, and then you take the year, which is a number, a dimension that happens to be a number, and voila, done. Just a minor trivial point here is that because the generational name stops at next gen, we had to come up with, because we were doing a 50-year forecast, we had to actually come up with our own generational names for generations that haven't even been born yet. So we came up with Gen Now and Gen V for virtual, where we think virtual devices will become so mundane through your life. So that's the very simple way I define blended dimensions, but in a very simple way. And before I call up Charlie, is there any questions just about this simple visual, but I think highly effective? Yes?
What was the, what did the manufacturers, what was their purpose in having you build this?
We did a 10-year demand forecast model for every motorcycle segment for Honda. And to do that, we needed 3 different aspects, because we didn't come up with one forecast model, we came up with thousands. And we did a lot of scenario analysis, but the 3 were macroeconomic drivers, which drove the year-to-year and month-to-month seasonal forecasts, right? We used business cycles, past and projected forward business cycles to look at it more strategically. And then we use this type of analysis, the demographics, to forecast out longer than, say, 3 to 4 years. Because when you're doing a 10-year forecast, you know, job growth per year is not going to really do much for you. The long-term strategic forecast drivers are more demographic. Whereas if you need something monthly, quarterly, annually, then you're looking at micro and macro drivers. Who here uses, when you do forecasts, predictive analysis, who here uses a lot of macroeconomic drivers? Just 1, 2, wow. So we use a variety of different drivers, and I think that's why we use the demographics, because when you're looking at things long term, you need something that is going to lead and correlate to more long-term drivers.